morning.
Morning. So I think maybe we could start a bit before 10. So today we are so lucky to have Paul Surin with us, Global Lead Built Environment and BIM in IBM, to hold a presentation. So I think we'll keep our microphones muted and raise question with this raise your hand button. And we'll also have a short Q&A session after the presentation. And just for information, Paul, we will record this meeting and share it on the buildingSMART YouTube channel afterwards. So I found this on some web page from another event you held a presentation, so it's quite heavy. So I think I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself. So please share a screen and
we'll
the stage is yours. Perfect. I will stop sharing.
Hi everyone. Thanks for your time. Hope you well and safe. So what I'm going to present today is probably some of the stuff you've already seen, and it's nothing new around kind of what's happening in the industry. I have a bit of stuff around data, around the standards, how we can explore the standards, and then I have some case studies to show. Yes, Knut said I lead globally BIM built environment for IBM. I'm part of the Center of Competence. I also chair Construction Products Europe Digitalization BIM Task Group. I have worked probably since 2013 or since 2014 at the ISO work, especially around CEN 442. And pre-IBM, I spent 5 years working for Wienerberger Group. Part of Wienerberger, you might know Pipelife. Actually Knut should know. so that's me. I'll take you through the presentation. We can have some discussions later. But I think what I'd like to do is to maybe highlight some of the issues we're still facing, because I sometimes feel, especially on around the manufacturing piece, and I think it links to the product room, that we keep missing out on the main objective why we introduce BIM, and it's not just related to the 3D, to BIM objects, to buildingSMART dictionaries or any other dictionaries. Is the main aspect what we're looking at is we need to look at better transparency, delivering more for less. We also have issues around the carbon emissions of building. So we're not building obviously assets genuinely as we designed, and I think that's back to some of the topics related to that we need to change the way we build. We need a better process, we need a better project execution and management. So I'm sure you all know these topics. Some of the other topics I try to put up some kind of a comparison between where we would like to be. So the current vision around digital twinning, around high operational availability, using AI to predicting failures, condition-based maintenance. But the reality is that we have I think multiple vendors are now introducing platforms, doing things in silos. We have lots of siloed data, in my opinion. We have issues definitely with interoperability. Quite often I see manufacturers by default being left out. You can only look at the recent UK BIM Alliance forum, or not forum, I think it's today, some kind of a summit, and manufacturers are not mentioned or being there by default. And I think that's kind of, I don't think it's a fault of anyone. I think it's just the lack of understanding of a project lifecycle maybe, and how manufacturers should be involved, because at the end of the day, the data, the information starts from somewhere from raw material or the product or the asset down to the individual product concept systems and then individual assets. And I think we need to also understand the IT OT security, what that is. I feel we concentrate a lot on IT security, missing out OT security, especially around securing digital twin, the models. And also, I think the first point is it's very difficult to get accurate bill of materials. You can search, browse on number of manufacturers' websites, providers like Tenda, providers like BIM Object, BIM Store, obviously, and they all do things slightly differently. And I think that's part of the problem, why we're not really getting the proper data insights and why we're not getting the proper interoperability. And I thought I would mention the topic, obviously. I'm sure you all heard a lot about COVID-19, post-COVID, new business. And it's just one of the stats we've seen as IBM, the 14,000% increase related to spam. Obviously, that's kind of relates with the remote working tools, and that's kind of highlights again probably the issues on the previous slides, that the IT is probably been completely missed out from the point of if we want to transfer the industry as a whole lot, we need to think a lot more from the holistic point of view. We need to be able to integrate I call it the back end of businesses with the front end, with the project lifecycle, in order to obviously invest successfully in infrastructure. You don't do it with just common data environment or data dictionary or authoring tool or an asset management tool. You need to look at it from the end to end in order to deliver for more for less, reduce the capex, reduce the opex, reduce the cost of failure, and in a way transform the industry as the whole lot. But also, last but not least, improve the user experience. At the end of the day, we all are the users, or we are kind of part of the built environment. So we need to obviously get a better, healthy, more convenient, efficient way of living, which is obviously needs to be delivered through the whole project lifecycle. So in terms of how is the industry changing, again, I try to summarize it in a way that on the right-hand side on that picture, you see more likely a kind of a back-end system of maybe a manufacturer or a business, where they kind of have different stakeholders. They have marketing, sales, commerce, they deal with orders. And obviously the industry now will, I believe, the post-corona business models will kind of put emphasis on really going digital. I believe there is an opportunity to reset the whole story around BIM. There will be even more pressure on the total expenditure. And we will see also the digitalization and platformization, as I call it. So we will see, I believe, more and more platforms, more and more businesses which related something to do to data, dealing with data. I mean, Construction Products Europe did a research with CoBuilder last year around how many companies within Europe genuinely are dealing with data, something to do with IFC, geometry, something to do with classifications. And I think the result was about 242. So that's 242 possibly different approaches to, and different expressions related to BIM, digital twin, data dictionaries. So, and I also believe the circular economy aspect is gonna be brought together, needs to be brought together with the Industry 4.0 and the IoT. And like I mentioned, the 242, so we've seen an increase also in new IPs are being created, loads of startups being kind of getting onto the market, but also disappearing very quickly. So it's a ever changing market landscape. And like I said, I believe the distributed environment and BIM is even more relevant now. The infrastructure needs effective connections between physical digital assets, And as I mentioned, we need to step change in how we design, construct, and operate. And also just summary the journey to the new normal. We also need to, I think, this kind of let us rethink where we are in terms of being digitally ready for a crisis. Are we crisis? Where are you? Are you crisis neutral, equipped, responsible, crisis resilient? And I can definitely see lots of businesses trying to use the digital transformation and try to adopt BIM and fast forward BIM now to become more crisis resilient going forward. And I see stakeholders like HS2 start thinking about, well, how can we kind of integrate our backend systems, which is around its technology IT, with the front end sort of BIM, the whole digital transformation of the built environment. And then when I talk about the built environment, I talk about, obviously, we talk about all forms of building, housing, residential infrastructure. And I think it's important to say, to mention it, because sometimes, again, in certain parts, I see quite sort of in certain parts of the industry, I see that sometimes infrastructure is being treated as a kind of a speciality to the rest of the construction. And quite often I see, obviously, we can see it in like building rooms, especially, that we create in IFC extensions, unnecessary IFC maybe extensions around IFC rebar, IFC rail, where we should really look at how the BIM and built environment extends beyond that, because obviously IFC, as you know, as I'm sure you know, sorry, is not sometimes equipped for the data granularity and the way we need to express data. Hence why we're talking about data templates. And I think this image you probably recognize is, I think, from 2014 from ArcView, how BIM and built environment extends to performance management, to people, to this infrastructure, and genuinely how that capital delivery project extends to operational activity. And I try to also summarize this is the buildingSMART. You probably know the kind of how digital built environment in 3 dimensions, supply chain, product systems, and obviously the asset life cycle. And I try to edit a bit around when we talk about open APIs on CDE, we need to also, I think, start talking about OpenShift environment or kind of multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environments, and how that works together with standardization with GS1, with buildingSMART. So we don't necessarily, in my opinion, need to be transferring, for example, data templates. As for a sake, data templates could reside easily in a cloud. We can start looking at exploring the data lake vision with the use of data templates as almost some kind of filter, and enable, obviously, the interconnected kind of dictionary type of vision, and perhaps looking at maybe using blockchain as a validation if certain business is kind of maybe compliant to EN ISO 23386. These are just ideas I'm trying to throw in, how we can really explore this kind of these dimensions of the built environment. And then obviously the triangle, the famous buildingSMART triangle, and how that works with EN ISO 19650, something like smart CE marking. And genuinely, I feel what we really have to, as an industry, be looking at how we integrate how we use the work of CEN/TC 442, the recently published EN ISO 23386, and obviously how we start using properly IFC, IFD, and the soon coming 23387 to enable in a way digitalization of regulations, because I think regulations like CPR, Low Voltage Directive, Eurocode 6, there's already prescribed way of describing attributes. So there's no need of creating kind of IFC extensions. Instead, looking at IFC exchange structure for product data template, which is a which is the standard, which is the proposed. I think it's a work item proposal. However, again, I mentioned it earlier. It might be too late coming, because if you think about how multi-cloud, hybrid cloud environment works, then we may not need the exchange structure for product data templates, and we can keep data templates within the cloud environment and just use it almost as a filter. But again, just something up for a discussion. But the important, obviously, are the standards I mentioned, the 23386, 87, and the proposed EN 17473, which is a kind of a an adoption of the, or a kind of a use case of the data template principles, but using specifically CPR, based on CPR European standards. Oops, sorry. And this is kind of the, I've taken this from Lars, obviously the 23386, and I'm sure you're aware of that, the difference between properties, attributes, how the both standards work, and the fact that we need the data templates in order to enable not just manufacturers, but genuinely the industries to start having machine readable and interoperable data. Because I feel there is a big push, obviously, for eTIM. Again, in my opinion, eTIM is not a standard, it's a classification. There is a big push for, obviously, some other classifications. And if I recall, it's very difficult for manufacturers to keep this kind of mapping and expression of 34 different classifications just around Europe. And I think through data templates, we could make the life much more easier, and we not just for manufacturers, but for designers and also software vendors, in my opinion. And the expression, and I mentioned it, the importance is that we're not inventing the data properties and attributes in silos and how we think they should be. There is something legislation, there are standards, there's also industry requirements, and there are some user-specific requirements which obviously form the data template. However, I would say the 60-70% probably of the data, if I look at construction product regulations, that's coming from legislation in terms of the expression, the units, the relationships, and it is, like I say, it's a regulation. It's not a standard. So if I look at ISO 12006 Part 2, Part 3, it's voluntary, where CPR it's mandatory, and I think we need to look at it that way in order to cross the bridge between the regulators, between the kind of what is the open BIM, so buildingSMART community, and genuinely the digital construction community, and get manufacturers, market surveillance, and regulators on board. And I think that's vital for us for the successful implementation. And this is just an example of a pump on essential characteristics, non-essential characteristics. Also integrating GS1 for enabling track and trace, and how that vision could work is kind of summarized on that image. And hopefully that will lead, again, with Lars from Cobble, we worked on this slide, used this slide quite a lot, because it nicely simplified way is expressing how the structured interoperable data can help to really some kind of effective use of digital twinning, enabling machine learning, predictive maintenance, real-time operations. So it's from the S-design. The S-build is also important, because obviously if we design a BREEAM excellent building and deliver BREEAM good building, obviously it's very difficult to operate it based on the information we designed, or it would already kind of diminish the idea of the S-build as design and operational twin. And obviously throughout the GS1 that shows on the left, that we could really looking at how we can track and trace, how we can ensure that the S-build model is as designed model, and it's also physically as built, and reduce the performance gap and reduce the the issues we have around carbon emission, maybe tracking the nearly zero energy building regulations, tracking responsible sourcing of materials, and being able to also start looking at properly the circular economy aspect and the holistic approach from the Industry 4.0 throughout the intelligent built assets, which is kind of I see the project part, and throughout the circular economy, how we can start looking at regeneration, looping of asset, extending life cycle assets, understanding vertical, horizontal integrations of manufacturers. And I believe if you look at right in the middle, construction products are right in the middle because they are being affected throughout the Industry 4.0, the intelligent built assets, how product is being delivered, assembled, used in an asset, and then how product is being replaced, or how it's been what's happened at the end of the life. So I think that's, for me, again, I use this slide was since 2016. The holistic approach is the key to successfully unlock the whole digital built environment. I feel this is only kind of 3 circles, but there might be 20 right now, 20, 30, 40 silos going on right now. And I'd like to say the technology is there to help, to support, not to replace. It's important. I hear a lot around AI. Obviously, there's the buzzword around blockchain. Everyone is now trying to do blockchain there. Where what we see in at IBM usually sort of 8 out of 10 kind of proposed topics for blockchains are not relevant. The application of technology needs to be also correct in order to get the benefit. Also on AI analytics, you need to know what you need to analyze. So it's the data, the structured data are the key to decisions to support the technology in the analytics. If we don't build the foundation, the analysis, advanced analytics, cognitive computing, edge computing, be very difficult without the foundation. Same like if you build in house, you need a proper foundation. Otherwise, you don't start from the roof. Well, maybe some builders do, but obviously the data is the key, is the foundation, and hence why we hear in data is the new oil of the industry. Well, it's been for a while, but we just never really properly sussed out the digital kind of language, where I think for me the breakthrough has been really the 3 months ago, the publishing of the 23386 and the soon coming 23387, that will really help us to get that common digital language of expressing what is a wall, what is a roof, what is a window, what is a brick, what is a pipe. So I don't know if there are any questions, because I have then only to show you some case studies, which is one is around TradeLens, what's been done, what IBM did with Maersk and other as an industry platform around track and trace, and also resolve the issues I believe we face within our industry. And so I only have just now case studies left. Are there any questions? I guess for most of you, it should be straightforward, or it makes sense. But I think we just need to keep repeating ourselves that we need to sort out the data. We need to look at how summarizing how we work with GS1, how we work with eTIM, how we work with generally with classification. And I think it's so important we really keep pushing the data template approach, because it's the right. I believe it's the right approach. Maybe some of you disagree, but I think it's the right approach to lead to the interoperability and to enable the regulators and market surveillance finally taking BIM seriously. Any questions before I jump?
So Paul, if you were a manufacturer not very into this kind of stuff, where would you start? What is the keys to dig more into to get this foundation as a manufacturer?
I would say start with the getting your internal data in order. I know number of manufacturers are jumping quickly on BIM objects, on BIM store, or on different data pools. I know in Nordics and Netherlands and Belgium, obviously it's quite common. Quickly, let's jump onto eTIM because merchants and sort of distributors using it, the catalogs, the eTIM catalogs, and I think it's the wrong way to start. It's very important to really almost establish manufacturers' unique data template, which in data language, just a logical data model, set up information management with a proper governance. So that means you understand data, you understand what you have, you structure in the data, and then the interoperability with data template will come. It's just a simple mapping, because if your data is cleansed, your data is structured, then it's much easier to do it, and you don't have to do kind of bits and there, send Excel sheet there, or do or kind of fulfill requirements of eTIM, fulfill requirements of I don't know, of one data pool, another merchant. So it's much easier if you have that information management in place.
Good, thanks.
So what I'd like to do is this is more around how you can quickly maybe just a good use case of an AI in the current situation around no-go zone monitoring, alert, social distancing, health monitoring, and we're seeing it used quite a lot now on the construction site, manufacturing when they're going back, and it's quite an easy way how to deploy and looking at an existing technology and adopt it to something which obviously the current situation, new kind of health and safety requirements, and it's not just related really to construction, but genuinely we see in a use of kind of, we call it worker insights, but genuinely use of AI. But I'll move on onto the. I'd like to play a video of what I think. If it enables me to do it, if you actually would be able to hear it, which I think is a good use case. I don't want to promote anything. I think it's an industry platform, and I think it's something we should be able to we should be looking at as well. Can you hear the sound? Could you hear the sound? Can you hear the sound?
No, there's no sound.
Okay. I don't know why is it not transmitting the sound. I've had this problem. Oh, hang on. Let me do it. Try to do it this way. Let me try to do it again. Yeah, I don't know why is it not transmitting the sound.
Coordination and communication.
Good.
See data system.
Could you hear the sound, or
there were sound, yes. But I think now it's gone.
Oh, really?
If you
people throughout the supply chain. TradeLens is a digital shipping platform powered by blockchain that enables unprecedented transparency, collaboration, and efficiency in global supply chains. TradeLens provides control and management of shipping data and supplies innovative apps to every stakeholder in the supply chain: shippers, freight forwarders, intermodal operators, ocean carriers, ports, terminals, authorities, financial service providers, and more. To illustrate some of the ways TradeLens enables collaboration and reduces friction, let's follow a shipment of laptop computers from inland China to their final destination, along the west coast of the United States. Using the document sharing capabilities of TradeLens, the shipper can submit shipping instructions to the carrier, who accesses the information to draft a bill of lading for the shipper's review. Once a final bill of lading is verified by the shipper and carrier, TradeLens makes it accessible to the customs broker, the authorities in the port of entry, and the cargo owner at the destination. All along the supply chain, access to shipping data and information is managed by TradeLens' sophisticated permissioning model. It controls who can add, view, and update information at each stage of a shipment, and provides a blockchain encrypted audit trail of all critical actions. The benefits of TradeLens really deliver when the planned turns into the unplanned. Due to a sudden shift in inventory demand, the shipper requests the cargo be diverted to its distribution center in eastern US near Savannah, Georgia. Following the request, the shipment is rebooked on another vessel, requiring a change to the manifest and a reissued bill of lading. Using TradeLens, the carrier can create and publish the amended bill of lading to the platform for all permission parties to see. At the customs broker, the new information is updated into the shipment's import declaration for timely submission to US Customs. With TradeLens, any permission party can find the shipment through a range of search parameters, such as equipment number, bill of lading number, booking number, and more. Viewing the transport plan, they can see the key milestones on the shipment's timeline. TradeLens supports more than 120 planned, estimated, and actual events, all tracked instantaneously, giving detailed insights up and down the supply chain. In the case of this shipment, supply chain partners downstream are notified of the vessel change and are able to coordinate and manage the impact of the destination and timeline changes. Global trade is an incredibly complex system, but with TradeLens and blockchain technology.
So yeah, it was just an example. I thought it was good to show, because I think TradeLens is a good example of, and I'm not going to go through the others because conscious of the time, because I think it's a good example how data is being used, how standardized process is being used, and how the entire supply chain benefits from it. And it's an industry platform. And I think this is kind of the approach I believe we should be looking at. How we can really have a entire supply chain, because I think one of the issues genuinely with BIM adoption and digitalization has been that there's probably the 80% of our industry obviously is SMEs or are SMEs, the small medium enterprises. And if you imagine what I said earlier, 200 maybe 40 plus different platforms, different data kind of providers, data pools, it's impossible for the SME to pick and choose and understand which one is the right one to use. So in a summary, I believe the BIM and the standards create the recently published the create common language to the industry, and we need to look at how we can really truly use the kind of as-built digital twin technology correctly in order to address the issues of the supply chain and hopefully speed up the recovery, the post-COVID-19 recovery. So I don't know if that's been useful. Hopefully it's been useful. I try to really do a bit of a spin on it, show a bit of standards, which sometimes can be seen as kind of boring, how manufacturers can start, and give an example where other industries, the standards being used, track and trace, obviously has been used, barcoding, and how that can work together. And it's a result of, I think, the TradeLens it's been around, I think, for 3 years. So it's doable. It doesn't have to take 5, 10, 20 years. It's doable if supply chain comes together. Any questions or?
Anyone? Please ask.
Stop sharing.
So if there are no questions, thank you so much, Paul. It's very appreciated.
No problem. Pleasure.
So then I think we will continue the meeting in Norwegian. So feel free to leave, or of course you can stay if you want.
Take care. Yeah, have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Da skal jeg se om jeg får